All right, readers. Those clocks, they are striking 13, so let us begin. This week, we've got The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway, and it is the story as Santiago, the old man, states, the biggest fish he's seen or ever even heard of. Sorry I'm coming to you late this week. I've been kind of sickly. You know who didn't get sick? Hemingway. Hemingway was the alpha male of, anybody's time. John Wayne was probably based on Ernest Hemingway, even though they lived at the same exact time. And Old Man Ernest, he didn't get sick. He'd get divorced. He'd get hurt in plane crashes and car crashes and by pulling skylights down on himself. But he did not get sick. I tell you what, death couldn't even conquer this man. He had to step in and give death a hand himself with a double-barreled shotgun because he knew a single barrel just wouldn't do the trick. Before we get into this masterpiece of writing, Amazon just listed the 100 books that everyone should read in their lifetime. You know who's included on that list? Ernest Hemingway. You know who's not included on that list? A different story about a fish, Moby Dick. I know I keep bitching about Moby Dick, and it's because it's a long, boring-ass novel that's been overrated for years and years and years and years and years. It did not make the 100 books you should read in a lifetime list, and it made me laugh out loud. Now this, The Old Man and the Sea, didn't make it either, and I blame Moby Dick for me not reading this book sooner. Honestly, folks, anytime I see a book about fishing, all I do is think about Moby Dick and think, fuck that. I ain't reading it. I'm not going through it again. Whenever I first started watching and then reading Game of Thrones, I knew the Greyjoys would be evil, evil little bastards just because they were lords of the sea and nothing good comes from the sea. All right. So we got The Old Man and the Sea. We're going to be talking about it next. Today's book report is brought to you by The Chauvinistic Man's Handybook. Hey guys, are you too much of a puss for even your own taste? Do you want to learn how to slap girls on the ass and refer to them as broads and dames? To learn how to hunt and kill animals? To study up on surviving both urban and nature's jungles? Do you want to learn how to be a man? Then this guide is for you. It's full of tricks and cheats to help fulfill your superiority complex and to bring out the alpha dog hiding deep down inside of you. You can do all this and more with the Chauvinistic Man's Handybook. Order your copy today. Alright, so The Old Man and the Sea. What's going on here? What is Hemingway writing about except for making an actually interesting story about going out on the seas and fishing? Well, when you deal with Hemingway, you're going to be dealing with themes of manliness. Like Garden of Eden, you're dealing with a man who's trying to satisfy two women. You know, manly things that all men do. Well, in this book, this is a book about precision and expertise in a single craft. The craft here just happens to be fishing, but it deals with a lifelong fisherman named Santiago, who at the beginning of this book is down on his luck. He's gone 84 days without catching a fish, and his longtime companion, the boy, isn't even allowed to fish with him anymore, because they feel like luck, and luck has a lot to do in this book, we'll get to that a little bit later, but the boy's family feels that luck has abandoned the old man, and he will not be catching fish anytime more. This has happened to Santiago before. He once went a long time without catching a fish. He then went 7 straight days with great catches, and he knows it's getting ready to come back along. To show his expertise in this craft, in the beginning, the first fish he catches is an albacore. And he knows it'll only be used as bait, so he chops it up and sets out his lines. And while sailing out to catch and do the great battle with the fish, Santiago becomes all the fish in the current. He follows the feeder fish. He knows where they are. He knows what they are doing. And he knows they will lead him to the truly big fish that he is trying to catch. When looking around, he knows all of the stars in the sky. He knows his position by them. He knows how far out from the land he is by the simple glow of the land. At night, he hears the porpoises sing. He knows the differences between the males and the females just by the way they are singing. But through all else in this book, he knows his line. Talks about that a few times. How he knows his line, its strength, how far down it is, how much more tug and tout on the line it can take before it'll snap. Once he finally hooks his fish, all the other lines are cut. He's got 4 or 5 of them working. But he cuts the rest of them because he can't have one of those lines slipping into his, putting too much stress on it, increasing the chance of a break. And when his fish is first hooked, the lurch, the great movement of the body of the fish springing against the line, it pulls Santiago into the side of the boat. Whack! It cuts his eye. But Santiago, man that he is, doesn't even wipe the blood away. He lets it dry and coagulate on the side of his face because both of his hands, they are touching the line, feeling the line, knowing what is going on deep underwater beneath him. A bit later on, a second lurch comes, and this one could have pulled him overboard, but nay! Santiago was prepared. He was ready. He had let go of some of the line. He had let the fish get some room before grabbing it back out and holding it on to continue the fight. Now, during this long fight with the fish, Santiago gets hungry. So what does he do? He doesn't give up the battle. He drops a second line into the water, and he catches a dolphin with his one free hand. He does this while holding onto the line the entire time. Still fighting the fish, he catches and prepares a dolphin and eats it raw. Good dolphin. I know the PETA folks probably love this novel, killing dolphin, eating them raw. Fuck those guys. This book is good. To continue his expertise, after finishing his dinner, he's getting a bit weary. It's been a full day since his fight began. So he catches a nap while holding the line. He sleeps. And of course he wakes to the fish running on him and the line digging deep and cutting into his hand. But his right hand that was cut, it is not too bad because pain does not matter to a man. Good God, folks were better than us then. And the fish is caught. Santiago brings it up and he catches this behemoth, this master, this brother of a fish. He bonds during this fight. He continuously refers to this fish as brother. And he feels bad about catching it. But he knows that there can only be one victor, and Santiago is the victor. He feels bad. He catches and kills the fish. He ties it to the side of his boat, but he knows he is way too far out. He has got a long journey to make it back towards land, and he's going to have to fight to keep this fish, because if he doesn't, then this whole battle, this whole fight, it would be nothing better than a dream. Now on his way back, while trying to get his fish back to shore, Santiago, to defend his catch, his rightful battle, his prize, he makes a spear out of an oar and his knife. And he does this while sailing with his foot and the crook of his arm. Again, these little sections, they just sound like, I don't know, wild fanciful tales. But no, Hemingway has seen this happen in real life, spent on the Caribbean, spent at sea. He knows the expertise of fishermen and that they could actually do this with their dexterity. Now, this is where the book kind of gets sad. This giant fish that the old man's worked so hard for, it of course attracts other large fish. Santiago fights off 3 sharks. And then when the 4th comes, it breaks his knife. He breaks his knife on the 4th shark's head, sending it away, but he knows that he is beaten now. They've already taken some of the best sections of meat. It is sending blood off into the water, and he knows just more predators are going to come. Santiago gave everything he had in his battle with this fish. And he knows in the end it is going to gain him nothing but experience. And this comes true. At night, when it is too dark to see, He fights with a club by feel against the fish that come, until it is seized and taken away from him, and he is now left defenseless, and he can feel his masterful fish being pecked and eaten away at until there is nothing left. And as he sails into the harbor, there is nothing but gutted remains. There is skull and bones and just his broken body. And people know that he went out and he fought triumphantly. He fought hard. And all he has to show for it is the skull and bones of a once mighty fish as Santiago collapses upon the sand. Now that's the main narrative of the body. There's lots of other good stuff at work here, though, and we're going to get into that after a real quick break right now. The following message has been approved by Seal Clubbers Anonymous. Hey guys, seal clubbing is hard work. You've got to decide between taking a table leg, a Louisville slugger, or even a tree limb to work. It's long hours in the cold, and you risk throwing out your shoulder with every blow. Then those dirty hippies and assholes from PETA come and are boycotting your work every day. It can be a lot of stress. Don't stop earning your living. Attend Seal Clubbers Anonymous. Get your woes off your chest so you can get back to smashing those anime-like eyes and selling those valuable pelts. You do good work. Feel good about it with your fellows. You can learn new techniques like the Peruvian pounce and others at Seal Clubbers Anonymous if you sign up today. Alright, so I've talked about the main story inside this book, but the main story ain't always what brings a book out, makes it fulfilling and rich. And The Old Man and the Sea is no different in that aspect. It's got a few other narratives going on that just kind of ground you in the story. They pull you in and make you feel a part of the book. I have a couple thoughts on making you feel part of the book, a couple quick notes on book etiquette. Grown-ups, quit writing your first and last names on the inside of the book jacket. I hate it when I encounter this in a used bookstore. That's where I found Old Man and the Sea, inside a used bookstore. Now, used bookstores are great. It's kind of like a shitty kind of treasure hunt, where you're not going to find anything of monetary value, but you might find a book that you've always wanted to read. Only when you start reading it, you find somebody's stupid fucking name on the inside cover jacket. Now look, if I'm reading Dr. Seuss and I encounter, this is Susie Q's first book, that's fine. I'm not going to complain. But The Old Man and the Sea is obviously no one's first book. And whoever I got this from secondhand, look, these books aren't yours forever. You're just holding on to them until you die. And then it's going to somebody else and they don't need to see your name on the inside of the book jacket. And also this book had chili stains all over it. If you're going to eat while reading, I've done this, be careful. Don't splash your chili on the pages for me to find 40 years down the road. Took me out of the story and made me kind of want chili, and I didn't have any. So knock that shit off. Be respectful. Wipe your mouth. Use a napkin. Keep the book sacred and safe. Anyway, other narratives in The Old Man and the Sea. Really, the only other character in this book is the boy. The boy has been his entire life he's been a friend of Santiago. He first went out fishing when he was 5 years old. And of course, he was no longer allowed to fish with him. He had grown up. He'd become an expert in his own sort of way. And he was now fishing with a bigger crew who was having much more financial success at the time. And while sitting in the old man's hut, they talk about baseball, which comes up a lot, and it's nice. But they reminisce about things gone, like there's a net on the wall. This net's already been sewed, just to help the old man get by in day-to-day life. But the old man and the boy, they talk about the net as if it's still there, because they can still see it hanging there on the wall in its normal place where it should be. And then they even talk about eating a meal. It's nice sitting around in a home to talk about a meal. The meal isn't there either. Santiago simply can't afford it. And while out at sea battling with the fish, the old man often thinks of how I wish the boy was here. How much easier it would be if the boy was here. And he's kind of a superstitious old cuss, and he never wants to say lonely. You should never say lonely when out to sea. But I wish the boy was here." And upon his return, the old man gives his self-fashioned spear, really all he has left in the world outside of his boat, to the boy. It's kind of his last legacy, and he wants to pass it on to his friend, his really only friend left on this earth. He gives his spear he made to fight for his fish to the boy. Another great side narrative from the middle of this book. While Santiago is battling the fish, he thinks back to an arm wrestling contest he once engaged in. This arm wrestling contest lasted for so long. He and his competitor, they both had blood coming out from beneath his fingertails. Just sitting there battling and bloody, and he sees his own hand holding the line, still battled and bloodied. And this gives him confidence to continue fighting the fish, because he thinks back to a past time when he battled for hours, he endured, and he won. And the fish, it is a constant narrative in itself. It is referred to as brother, a kindred spirit that's also out there fighting for his own life. And like I said in the main narrative, he feels bad when he kills the fish. But only one can be the victor and enjoy the spoil. Well, only one can be the victor. The fucking feeder fish are the ones that got the spoils. Fucking sidetracking, fending off the spoils of others, assholes. Anyway, like I said, there's also a lot of nice baseball talk. This for me is what really grounded this story into the modern day. Because when talking about fishing, this could have happened yesterday or 4,000 years ago. I knew it was written in the first half of the 20th century, but the baseball talk, it really grounded me in that early to mid-1900s. During the battle, him and the boy are always talking about Joe DiMaggio. They're Yankee fans. We'll forgive them that. But he thinks back, while battling the fish, would the great DiMaggio, who does all things perfect, would he stay and fight this fish? He doesn't know, but Santiago does. And like I said, luck has a lot to do in this narrative. He knows that he works harder than others, but he has no luck. But he works hard, so that when luck does come around, he is ready to accept it. He also can't say a good thing out loud, or it won't happen. And the fish must be driving him crazy because he is talking out loud a lot. And he knows that he violated his good luck by sailing too far out. And by sailing too far out, that's what caused him to lose his fish. The thing of luck, he doesn't want to admit that it's important, but he's a superstitious guy. And superstitions with native peoples, they play out. And luck is always a driving factor in this book. And it is always luck that is running out on him. But even so, he continues to work, so that when luck does come back to his side, he is ready for it. All right, that's all I got on The Old Man and the Sea. Next week, I don't know what the hell we're going to do next week. There's a couple of possibilities out there. If you're interested, stay tuned to the channel. We'll be coming back, guys. Just remember, Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea. It won a Nobel Prize for a reason, and you should all read it. You never know. You may just like it more than me.